70% of women say that they experience significant stress during pregnancy. And being pregnant in 2025 and 2026 doesn't make it any easier, right? Whether you struggled to get pregnant, got pregnant a little earlier than you hoped for, experienced losses, or have financial stress, or maybe you've had a traumatic birth before. It was difficult finding providers who aligned with your priorities. It was hard to get appointments, or maybe you're just completely overwhelmed and scared of the unknown. Extreme stress during pregnancy is so valid. And a lot of the time, we can't just choose to escape the stress. So, why are we even talking about it in this video? I want to tell you about something called fetal programming and how we react to stress does shape our baby's development. But don't worry, there's hope too. We can't choose the stress per se, but we can learn how to adapt and regulate so that our bodies can process it a little easier and teach our baby's nervous system how to be resilient. So let's get into it. We're going to jump into this video. It's for pregnant moms who are dealing with chronic stress and they want to understand how it's affecting their baby's development, what you can do to actually help your nervous system to regulate despite the overwhelming circumstances, despite the stress. In this video, you're going to discover how the umbilical cord connection programs your baby's nervous system. We'll talk about why up to 70% of pregnant women report significant stress and how it all affects fetal development. We're going to talk about something called the perfect storm that starts during pregnancy and then how neurologically focused chiropractic care helps your nervous system shift from survival mode to regulation, creating a calm internal environment for your baby. It's a lot to get into, but first, let's talk about Catherine. She was on her fifth pregnancy, but only her second under neurologically focused chiropractic care. Her previous pregnancies without care were filled with unrelenting heartburn, sciatic pain, crushing fatigue, and overwhelming stress. But this time, she got adjusted 2 to 3 times per week throughout her pregnancy. Even though this was the oldest she'd ever been during pregnancy, she felt the best out of any of them. Her nervous system stayed regulated. Her symptoms were minimal. She had the energy to keep up with her other kids. She slept great. Her heartburn was manageable. And the neurological scans lined up exactly with what she was feeling. Her adjustments were tailored to what her body was showing. And just weeks away from baby number five, Catherine said this was the most confident she'd ever felt heading into labor and delivery. She knew her body was ready because she'd kept her nervous system regulated throughout the entire pregnancy. So let's jump into this video by first understanding how your nervous system is teaching your baby's nervous system, how we can get a result like Catherine's. Because when we look at it from a big picture understanding, when we look at the umbilical cord, right, it's more than a nutrient delivery system. It's the electrical connection between your nervous system and your baby's nervous system. When we have stress hormones like cortisol and they stay elevated in your body, they cross the placenta and flood your baby's developing brain. It's a signal to the brain. Your baby's nervous system is being programmed in this moment. If you're stuck in sympathetic dominance, that fight or flight mode, your baby's nervous system learns this as baseline normal. Think of it like the nervous system as an air traffic controller for every other system in the body. If air traffic controller is stuck in panic mode, everything else is going to malfunction. And when we look into the research, it has found that infants of mothers with the highest stress levels showed 22% higher stress reactivity. These babies were more easily upset. They were harder to soothe and they showed poor recovery from stress. And that pattern was established during pregnancy. Fetal programming creates these lifelong patterns, which means there's possible permanent changes that can happen during pregnancy. There's a part of the brain called the amygdala, your baby's amygdala. That's the fear center of the brain. It develops larger and more reactive when it's exposed to chronic stress. There's something else called the HPA axis. It's your baby's stress response system, which gets programmed with like a hair trigger baseline. It's essentially, it doesn't take much to fire it off. It doesn't take much for the baby to get into stress mode when it's being programmed in this way. And we like to give the analogy. You think of it like a house. You're building a house, but the foundation is cracked. You can't remodel a house on a cracked foundation and expect for it to be stable. Your baby's nervous system, the foundation is being built right now in utero. And that chronic stress creates cracks in that foundation before they're even born. One of the things we talk about a lot is called the vagus nerve. It's the main nerve of the parasympathetic plexus or the parasympathetic system, and it develops its tone during pregnancy. You can think of it as the rest and digest nerve. Poor vagal tone from prenatal stress can affect digestion, it can affect heart rate, inflammation, immune function, social engagement, and emotional regulation as a child grows and develops because all of these things are regulated by the vagus nerve. And the research shows it. Kids whose mothers experience chronic stress during pregnancy have higher rates of ADHD, anxiety, sensory processing disorder, and even physical health issues like asthma and allergies. And what we see time and time again that this isn't bad luck. It's fetal programming. It's what's happened in those early vulnerable stages of life. And this is stage 1 of what we call the perfect storm of stress that influences neurodevelopment. This begins often even before pregnancy even starts. It could be fertility struggles, multiple rounds of IVF, months or years of emotional weight, hormonal medications, financial strain, and relationship stress. All of these can stack up on mom's nervous system. And by the time pregnancy happens, the nervous system is already depleted. And then pregnancy adds its own stressors. There's physical discomfort, fear about the baby's health, anxiety about labor, financial pressure, work stress, and more relationship challenges, right? Your baby is developing in this environment. And here's the truth, they don't necessarily they don't grow out of it, right? They grow into a stuck dysfunctional state. Colic at 2 months becomes chronic constipation at 6 months. Constipation becomes sensory sensitivity at 18 months. Sensory issues become ADHD signs at age 5, and ADHD becomes anxiety by age 10. It's the nervous system dysfunction that started during fetal programming that's manifesting differently as the brain grows and develops. And thankfully, that doesn't have to be the end of the story. The good news, you can help your nervous system regulate starting now. Let's be honest, you can't eliminate every stressor. That's impossible. We try it, but it's impossible. But you can help your nervous system shift from sympathetic dominance, that fight or flight state, into parasympathetic function, creating a calm, regulated internal environment that supports healthy fetal programming. And that's where we come in. With neurologically focused chiropractic care, we're working at this foundational level. We're going to utilize gentle, specific adjustments to communicate to the nervous system to help to release the parking brake on your nervous system, allowing it to shift out of survival mode and into regulation. And we measure it using insight scans to provide that objective data. One of the scans is called heart rate variability. It measures the balance between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. We use something called surface electromyography. It's a way of picking up energy, how tone and tension is held throughout the system, and it shows where your nervous system is holding that excess tone that might keep it in that survival state. And then we run the neurothermal scan. These detect areas of dysregulation that the body is responding to. And these scans track improvements in your nervous system function, often before you even notice symptoms changing. And here's the big picture, when you're regulated, your baby learns regulation. This is the window of opportunity. Pregnancy is when the foundation gets built. What you do now not just affects your pregnancy, but impacts your child's lifelong health. Your baby's nervous system is being programmed in this moment. Your nervous system teaches your baby's nervous system. An intervention you pursue now, addressing nervous system dysregulation at the root cause level, affects your child's health trajectory for years. You have more control than you think, not just by eliminating stress, but by helping your body regulate despite it. If you're ready to support your nervous system and give your baby the healthiest possible start, click the link in our bio, send us a DM, or schedule with us at Rising Health in Knoxville. We're here to help create the calm, regulated foundation your baby deserves. That's all for this one. Have a wonderful day.